Hello, and welcome to Wonder in the Weeds, a show where every week we're going to explore and share how we live, love, and grow right alongside grief, change, and the wild messiness of this human life. I'm Cristie Ritz-King. By day, I'm a trauma therapist with a private practice where I mostly focus on individual parents and their partners, and sometimes the whole family, trying to help each other raise ourselves and our kids in a world that maybe doesn't support us so well in the act. By night, I'm a mostly empty nester mom of 3 grown kids and 3 really needy dogs. I love to write. I love doing whatever I can to help other people feel really good about themselves. And I absolutely adore well-written anything. Songs, books, TV shows, movies, even a comedy set. I'm a word nerd to my core. I devour music and media in a really weird, intense way. Like, I want you to live it as much as I do. And I read to survive, and always have, even from when I was just a little kid in a family that, while loving, was a little bit tough to find my way in. I haven't really arrived at either my day persona or my night persona without plenty of twists and turns and reinventions and stumbling blocks along the way, which is sort of what gets us here today. This show is the result of years of trying all kinds of different things to get myself into a place where I felt comfortable and authentic sharing what I'd been through and what I know. Let's start at the very beginning. So way back in the day, a long, long time ago, when I was the mom of 3 little kids, I moved my entire family from the state of Maryland to the state of New Jersey, where I didn't know a soul. It was all for my husband's job, which he immediately went to as soon as we moved, and sort of left me to figure out the rest of the home stuff all by myself. Right before I left, a friend of mine from my old neighborhood was doing this thing called blogging. And she created this amazing resource website for parents in our area of where to go and what to do with their kids. And I thought, well, I don't know that I can do that, but I sure would like to use this medium as a way to communicate with all the people I've left behind in Maryland and let them know sort of how me and my family are doing. And so that's what I did. She helped me set up my very first blogging website on Google, and the rest is history. I spent the next few years online writing about my day-to-day adventures as a parent in a new place. And somewhere along the way, I created and became part of this amazing online community. We supported each other in our darkest moments. We celebrated each other in our best moments. I got to write, which I love to do. And I got recognized for it sometimes too. But that wasn't the best part. We had amazing experiences in the city. The kids got to do incredible things. And the best part still was the people I met throughout that journey. The support I felt, the camaraderie, the never being alone feelings when you could reach out to somebody in the middle of the night on your computer and they could understand what you were going through. I really missed that part of it. But a weird thing happened and the internet changed and influencer culture came about, and that just didn't really sit right with me. I was really impressed by my friends who could do it and really embraced that whole kind of curated and intentional, beautiful advertising, if you will, that they did online and on Instagram by that point, and TikTok later, and all of those things. I thought they were amazing. It just never worked for me. So then I spent a few years trying to figure out who I was in all of this. I had been a teacher before, but I didn't really want to go back to that. So I got licensed as a doula. I got licensed as a holistic health coach. I was a meditation teacher. I got yoga teacher training. I sort of went to all these different places to learn and grow and thought maybe that would be the next thing. And none of them ever really stuck because I didn't feel like I knew enough about it. And I kept trying to venture back online. I kept trying to look for those communities and places, and I never could quite find them. And then I went back to school and got a master's degree and a doctorate degree in psychology and ended up being a trauma therapist. And as a trauma therapist, you get the message that you aren't supposed to share anything. You are supposed to be this blank slate. You're supposed to be the person that someone can come in and give all of their stories to, but your stories are for somewhere else in your own therapy. And I really struggled because I loved sharing. I loved telling stories. I loved writing. I loved being online. I loved the community there. And yet I felt like I wasn't allowed to do it in the way that felt authentic to me. So I tried to embrace being online as an influencer, as somebody who was brought knowledge to the medium. And I saw a lot of other people doing it. There's a lot of psychologists out there, there's a lot of trauma specialists out there, there's a lot of people talking about trauma and they're talking about maternal mental health and they're talking about all wonderful things, but it was just not something that I could sustain because it didn't feel like it was who I was without my part of the story. I could go on and give you advice or tell you what I knew about this research or that research, but it just didn't feel like it was grounded in me. And so I couldn't sustain any of that stuff. I've had podcasts, I've had newsletters, I've had YouTube channels, I've had it all, but I never could sustain any of it because it got hard to show up all the time when I felt like a big part of me was missing. And I struggled with that because I didn't know how to do both. How do I be a therapist, this blank slate person for people, but also a human who has human experiences? Especially as the world went a little bit crazy around us and we were all experiencing trauma, a global pandemic, leadership that is questionable. Every day we're bombarded with things online and in the news that make us feel like we're not sure of anything anymore. And I really wanted to show up for people in that way to help people through this. So I wrote my newsletter again and I aggregated a lot of information and I tried to point people in the directions of where they could go for advocacy or where they could go for help or where they could go to learn more. And that was great, but also unsustainable for me because I'm not a journalist. I am a researcher, but I just found it really hard on my own mental health to be in that world all the time. So I stepped back again and I got quiet and I got introspective. And in the meantime, we had this big personal change happening where we were moving again. And I thought, oh, well, last time we did this, I got to kind of start over again. And I found this world of blogging and writing online and the community that I so loved last time. So maybe there's a way to do it this time. All the while, I am trying to figure out what my place in the world is. I have a lot of this personal change happening. Not only are we moving halfway across the country, but we have children that are growing and leaving my home or growing and coming back into my home. And I'm having to learn sort of what my role is as a parent to adult children. And my adult children are going through things that maybe they need me for, but I'm not sure how they need me. But I'm pretty sure they need me in some way. And what is my role there? Professionally, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep doing what I was always doing? Even though I just feel this like stuckness that I'm not, even though I feel this like stuckness that I'm not doing everything I can or that I should be. So there was a lot happening. And I sat down. I'd love to say I sat down one day and had this revelation, but that's not really what happened. It happened sort of slowly over time where I realized the thing that I love, the thing that I missed, and the thing that I think we're all craving right now is connection and community. And I found that online 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I know we can get it again. And so I set out to create this community that is all the good stuff of being online and being connected and being social without all the negativity and the weird algorithms and the strange, the strange experts that aren't really experts. If you could see me, you would see I was putting all of that in air quotes. And I just thought, I know what I have to offer. What I have to offer is a wealth of professional experience and information and a wealth of personal challenge and grief and living through really hard times and still having a life that I'm not only proud of, but that I really enjoy. I started to think about wonder and what I've based my whole business on over the last 15 years. And I realized that the thing that I bring to the table, the superpower that I have, is that I'm always able to find the wonder, even if it really feels like I'm walking through the weeds of life. It's not always huge. I'm not always having some grand revelation or, an all expenses paid trip to an island somewhere. The wonder sometimes is in the small moments and in the feelings you get when there's a glimmer of hope. It's in the intentional focus and the intentional living that comes from understanding that life is going to be hard and life is going to present you challenges. And the beauty is we have the choice of how we respond. I want to make it very clear that when I talk about finding wonder in the weeds, I by no means am talking about toxic positivity. I like to talk about toxic positivity because I think that's one of the problems with the internet right now, is that it's either everything's terrible or everything's great. And we don't know what you're talking about when you say everything's terrible. And that's just not how life works. I've learned working with people over the years that we're sort of predispositioned to think we have to wait for everything to be okay before we're allowed to feel good. We have to wait for the relationship to be perfect. We have to wait for the job to be perfect. We have to wait for the role at the job in order to enjoy the actual job. We have to wait until nothing bothers us before we say our life is okay. If we lose someone, we have to wait a specific amount of time before we're allowed to feel better. But also, we're not really allowed to make anybody else feel bad about it. And nobody really knows what that specific amount of time is. We just know there is a specific amount of time, and somebody's going to judge you if you do something before or after. It's all very confusing. None of it's very clear, and it can all feel really overwhelming if we're not sharing it with each other. One beautiful thing that I have as a therapist is the access to everybody's stories. And I don't mean access in a gossipy way. I mean access to the privilege of being able to see that we're all kind of muddling through it the best we can. And we're all having a lot of the similar experiences. And the only thing that's kind of getting in our way is that we're not talking to each other about it. And so I'm not going to be a blank slate on this show. I'm going to bring my professional opinion, but I'm also going to share with you some of what has worked for me. And I'm not sharing it in a way that I think it's going to work for you. Let's be clear. I'm not in that influencer culture of, hey, I did it this way and you should too, because then your life will be great as well. But I am in the business of understanding that we all have a lot of things in common. And if we just talk about some of them, that can relieve a lot of pressure and help us know we're not alone. And that's my mission with this. It's helping us all understand how we can live and love and parent and be in relationship, even when life is full of trouble and loss and grief. We don't have to wait for all of those things to go away, to magically clear. We can live a really good life right alongside the stuff that's hard, the growth, the change, the challenges. I promise. So on this show, we're going to have a segment where we talk about the weeds of the week. We have this thing that's in our family that we stole from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you're not familiar, the sister who is constantly aggrieved shows up in the office to complain about something, and the secretary, who's clearly familiar with her shtick, says, "What's bothering you now, Jeannie?" or something to that effect. I think she says, "Jeannie, what's bothering you today?" or something like that, with a kind of an eye roll and an understanding that like something's always bothering Jeannie. I kind of think of the weeds of the week segment of the show as the "What's bothering you now, Jeannie" segment, because I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about what's bothering me. Is it something in the news? Is it something in my house? Is it something outside? Is it, gas powered leaf blowers, or is it the state of the world? It could be big or small. What are the weeds that I'm feeling this week, and how am I getting through them? Or what are some recent weeds? I'll tell you something about me is that I once learned from a mentor a long time ago, the idea that we are to teach from the scar, not from the wound. And I have carried that with me through my entire professional career. We're not in the business of giving advice as therapists. We're in the business of helping you sort of navigate your way to your own advice. It can be frustrating. Trust me, I've sat on the other side of it and really wish she would just tell me what to do sometimes. But what I do like to do is take my experiences that I've been through and that I'm through, and share ways that helped me get through them, or things that I noticed on the journey that might help somebody else not have to stay there as long as I did. I get really nervous when people go online and they try to tell you about their trauma and how they handled their trauma and what you should do about your trauma because this is what they're doing about their trauma. And it's so evident to me that they aren't through the trauma. So that's not what this show is. I'm not going to guide you through pain that I'm currently in. I'm going to share with you some observations from the path to get here, sprinkled in with some professional opinions as well. So I hope you'll join me every week for community, for maybe some inspiration, certainly some laughs. I'm never above laughing at myself. And to get through the weeds together, because that's always better than trying to do it alone. And I promise you, there is wonder to be found even amongst the weeds. So thanks for listening. I hope you come back next week and join us for more ways through the weeds of life. Remember when I talked about being an online content creator and the community that grew around that? Well, today I missed that. And I realized as I navigated through COVID and handled it okay, it was largely because I knew that you could cultivate real relationships and real connections online, as I had already done it years ago. I tried to recreate that over the years, but it never quite worked. Some because of the algorithms and the people in charge, and some because I wasn't ready to show up wholly as myself. Now that I'm in a place where I'm unafraid to be myself authentically online, and I know the ins and outs of the online world, it's time for me to take back control of that community. It seems like these days the online world has gone totally out the window. Even TikTok, a platform we once celebrated as a place for real people to be real and authentic with each other, has been taken over by the forces that push evil algorithms that fill our feeds and our brains with division and hate. So I have decided to stop relying on other people, mostly rich men, to create community online. And instead, I'm going to do it myself. No algorithms, no ads, no arguments, and no red-faced emojis driving our content. Just a safe place for women to connect, to collaborate, to laugh, and to feel loved. I need it, so I decided to build it. And I would love it if you join us there. The Women of Wonder, or WOW community, has a nominal fee just to keep the platform open. But once you're inside, you'll get so much more than you're paying for. And that is my promise to you. Think of it like all the good stuff that Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or even Twitter back in the day, without the politics, anger, and hate. Think of it like Substack without the think pieces or the very best Zoom calls you've ever been on. Keep coming here for stories and a bit of wonder every week, and join us inside the Women of Wonder WOW community for so much more. Thank you. See you inside.